What's up, guys? It's your host, Spartanic Arts DxD, back with another high school DxD related video. And today we have What If Issei Was Broken, Part 2. Once again, let's try to hit 400 to 500 likes. That'd be absolutely amazing. And if you guys want to know exactly when I upload, / my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button. You know about 3 days in advance when I'm going to upload another one of these parts or another one of my Spartanic long format videos or just my videos in general. It'd be absolutely amazing if you could become a channel member. Once again, if we hit 100, we get a special little movie, possibly 5 to 6 hours in one go, which might kill me, but I would do it anyway because that'd be absolutely amazing to have 100 channel members. So go ahead, we're at, once again, like 32 right now, or 33 now, with a couple joined yesterday. So yeah, thank you for the support, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, let's go and thank my balance breakers and my Juggernaut Drive members, who I will announce first: Ant Lewis, Lachlan Yates, Refeek135, VR Wolf, and Dark Phoenix. Thank you so much for becoming a Juggernaut Drive member. And then for my balance breakers, we have Jordan Pachow, Nadamo, ZK2000, The Ghost of the Uchiha, Rob the King, Grimfire Shot Gamer, and Jeffrey. Thank you so much for becoming a balance breaker. Seriously, I could not appreciate you guys enough. And obviously, continuing with that, if you guys want to see exclusive content like reactions and things like that, you can go over to my Patreon, as I just posted a video over there. And here, shout out to my Patreon members: David Tanner, Ryuga, Lachlan Yates, The Black Dragon Emperor, Godkiller, ZK2000, Stripelanger, Mark Bacon, Sharklock, Jay Dawson, and Kefir Windsor. Thank you so much for becoming a Patreon member. Seriously, I really do appreciate you guys quite a bit. And with that, obviously, go subscribe over to my second channel. I also have a new code. You go over to Fandemonium. There's a site called Fandemonium. I'll put it up on screen right now. And you use code AMPAL for 10% off. They have 50% off in every single thing on product right now. And if you use 10% off with my code, you get another 10% off if you want to buy some anime merch. There is some... literally, there's every single anime you could possibly think of on there. So thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. That is, by the way, my sponsor. But, yeah, without any further intrusions, let's go ahead and get into Part 2. Chapter 3. Time had passed while Issei was resting in his room, staring straight at the ceiling above, turning towards many magazines he had, the many posters that were hung on his walls, and many objects that were shaped like women, such as an alarm clock. Issei just couldn't stop the fear. Getting up, Issei began removing some of the posters that were, well, questionable. The betrayal that she did to Issei was damage that was never going to be fixed. He was fearful. He was fearful of women to some extent, knowing from his first experience, learning that he was being used the entire time, knowing that everything that he did out of respect and love for the woman was just nothing to that woman. It had all destroyed his aspect of view on women. Sitting down after removing some of the things in his room, Issei began to think about what he was going to do about school until he concluded that missing some homework and having a few terrible grades aren't going to kill him. But this supernatural world was sure as hell going to rip him to shreds if he doesn't do anything about it. Deciding to finally speak with someone that was far more knowledgeable than he was, Issei began contacting Ddraig through a mental link. I suggest leaving this town with your family for a little while. I know your family doesn't have enough to afford a brand new house somewhere, but they should have enough to rent a place outside this town for a little while. Issei. Hearing what his partner had to say, he started thinking of it's a possibility. I don't know, wouldn't it be suspicious to ask my dad to buy a place somewhere else for vacation upon recovery? Yes. However, I am willing to bet that your father will certainly do this for you to recover more than certainly. Take this opportunity to leave town, to think that an approach with fallen and devils. Who are these devils that you have been mentioning for a while now? Issei finally wanted to know these devils. Well, since Ddraig had mentioned them a few times, they were major threats to him like her. Judging from your memories, Rias Gremory and Sona Citri are only high-class devils in the area. I'm guessing high-class thing means that they are some prestige beings in the supernatural world. Precisely, said partner. Sona Citri and Rias Gremory are some of the most influential families in the underworld. I already had told you of some of the houses when describing the brief history of the supernatural world. From the Great War to the Devil's Civil War, but I haven't told you the specifics. The Gremory House had risen to the extreme prestigious mostly thanks to their eldest son. His name is Sir Zex Lucifer, formerly Gremory. Why did his name change? Issei pushed aside the fact that Rias Gremory most likely had an elder brother and was forced on the news he was getting. From his immense power. That combined with the fact that he was one of the devil heroes of the Devil Civil War, which I already told you about. Interesting. So I am guessing that I should stray away from these two. Issei spoke knowing that Rias Gremory, without even knowing how powerful she was compared to him, was a potential threat to him, especially due to the fact that they didn't know each other, which would make her presume that he was a threat. Indeed. Ddraig said. Afterward, Issei asked his father with the suggestion that Ddraig had given him, about the trip towards another location outside the city. His father was willing to follow through with the plan since it would help the entire family out with stress that they have gained through wacky events that Issei suffered through. The very next morning, Issei quickly began packing up some of his valuable stuff. Miki Hyodo quickly began sprinting towards her son's room to check upon him. To her surprise, when she opened the door to her son's room, she saw her son's room missing some of the perverted stuff. But she should have known that was bound to happen. A real-life experience changes the perspective of fantasies that one thinks of. Finally, seeing Issei on the other side of the room, she rushed towards him. Issei, hurry up! Your father is already getting the car ready and ready to leave. She was happy knowing that the entire family was going to leave and enjoy themselves outside of this silly small town, especially when they're going to spend quality time together with their son. Also, we will be having lunch outside. Issei turned around with some of his clothes on his hands and responded, sure, just let me get... Alright, that should be all of it. Alright, come on. Smiling at his mother's antics, Issei quickly began following behind his mother until they finally arrived at their father's car. Entering the car into the back seat, Issei watched as they began leaving their home. His father had already called the school and taken the 2 weeks off, but was forced into going to the school to collect a huge stack of classwork and homework that Issei had missed. What am I going to do with all this homework? Issei sighed with disappointment. That was when someone responded to his distress. Don't worry about it. The work. After all, I am here. The prideful dragon boosted, which made Issei slightly less worried about the work, knowing that he literally had an ancient wise dragon in his mind that basically, from what he hoped, knew everything that there was to learning about. Partner, even if it has been a day since we had met, you're already my best friend. Glad to hear it, because you won't think so highly of me in a few hours. Once arriving at the apartment that Issei's father had bought, Issei and his family began unpacking the place and the valuable stuff that they had brought into their own separate rooms into the apartment. Turns out the location that they brought the house wasn't far from the city from Kyoto. After a while, Issei decided to head out away from the house in a secluded area. Finally, I can speak more freely without having to rely on your thoughts. Anyway, Issei Hyodo, this training session will be difficult and very challenging for a young hatchling such as yourself. Are you ready for it? Do I even have a choice? No. Issei sighed before responding. Then why even ask? Just because. Once more, Issei sighed before asking Ddraig something about this training session. What will I even be doing to become stronger? I don't think it's simple human exercise that will bring me to the level of her. That's quite easy to deal with. Well, doing some magic control training for the first week with some slight physical training to make sure you aren't completely helpless. Issei quickly gazed a puzzled expression with the part of his training. Magic control training can mean many things, but if it revolves around the aura of a dragon, that thing that caught Ddraig off guard when they first met, then did it involve controlling the heat that he admitted? Or would it be dealing with the controlling the heat into deadly weapons? What does the magic controlling consist of? The training your magic controls to ensure your draconic energy doesn't overflow or destroys your body. Ddraig spoke with seriousness in his tone, sensing that Issei was slightly skeptical with the training, since he really didn't believe that the mental training would be beneficial as physical training as his state. Ddraig decided to speak on the matter of his aura and what it truly meant. You don't seem to understand the value of having your aura at such a young age for a dragon. Dragons are beings of very long lifespans. We can live for eons upon eons before finally dying. However, Most dragons don't even reach the point of achieving their aura. Only a few dragons have achieved their aura, one of them being the dragon you're speaking with currently. Also, when did you activate your draconic aura? You had no control over your power and nearly melted yourself into nothingness. What does the aura represent? It defines us dragons. The aura of dragons defines the aspect of what they will represent. Or, like Conquer, my aura defines domination. I am the heavenly dragon of domination for a reason, and I bring domination wherever I go. Another dragon, my internal rival, your rival soon, Albion, the heavenly dragon of supremacy. His aura is of supremacy. There are only a few dragons that have unlocked their auras. Not even all 5 dragon kings have achieved their auras. However, there has never been the case of a hatchling. From the moment that he was born, a new to dragon would be able to unlock their aura. A dragon can gain their aura in 2 ways, either from waiting and getting strong enough from raw, far powerful emotions controlling their bodies. You, I'm afraid, were in the second category. Your raw emotions of being betrayed were so strong that even when I was beginning to transform you into a dragon, the emotions began taking effect on your body into releasing your draconic aura far too early. So I'm guessing your betrayal had basically made me do the impossible. Issei jokingly chuckled, obviously not taking the situation seriously at all. However, there was still one question that lingered in his mind. What's the problem of this aura for me currently? Your aura, once activated, will be violently melting your body. Your draconic aura has a deep, sorrowful blue color from what I have observed, from you unleashing it yesterday in the mindscape. Currently, this training session was made for the sole purpose of bringing your body to the state of actually being able to handle at least the bare minimum amount of the time you can initiate the aura. Ddraig paused, before finally speaking once more. Let's get started with... Partner, remember what I told you about focusing on the sensation of your body and draw it out? Issei calmly sat down on the grass in the field and responded back with, yeah. Good, because you won't be needing that for a while. Issei was suddenly shocked once hearing that, because Issei thought for a moment that he was onto something when he being reminded about that technique. He thought that maybe he could start with controlling the sensation. Ddraig quickly exclaimed before Issei could even finish his entire thought, no! Don't even think about meddling with that power. You nearly roasted yourself alive by just activating the power, and yet you think interfering with that power was going to be any better. Ouch, alright, I got it. For now, just meditate and get into a calm and relaxed state. After that, we'll commence the actual training by trying to control some of the power of the boosted gear. Ddraig quickly took control of Issei's arm and slammed him to the ground with little to no remorse. Begin, soldier! Throughout the training, Issei Hyodo only felt uneasy with the feeling that something at home is happening, and he wouldn't like it, especially when he still knew that the fallen angels were most likely still in that territory. While Issei Hyodo was focusing on trying to gain a solid hold in the supernatural world and the fallen angels were already beginning their true plan. Creak! Hello, dear. Rainier spoke with a love and affection evident in the voice, turning around to the woman that he had entered the broken down and abandoned church. Hello? Are you the people that will take care of me? The innocent tone of a calm from a new woman that he had to come to this town not too long ago. The woman was wearing some baggy clothes with a large white hood covering her entire head. Once finally meeting the church, the woman pulled down her hood to reveal her face. She was a pretty woman with blonde hair flowing down past her shoulders, with green, beautiful eyes that stared intently at Rainier, who was seen standing in front of the woman, without her wings the spread of her back. Of course we are. My friends here will also be taking care of you, so just to get comfortable and feel right at home, Rainier smiled, trying to give Azia the feeling of comfort, which had worked for now. Just follow me, Azia. What the fallen angel in front of her had said had really impacted Azia, making her smile with pure joy. Thank you! Azia felt joy in finally finding people that would take care of her. She was abandoned by the church when she was young. She had been alone for many years because of her kind nature for healing a devil, which had resulted in her suffering during all these years. Now, she had been informed by the fallen angels that they would help her, and she had no other options besides listening to them. She finally had people that wanted to help her, people that would potentially even care for her. Her eyes were beginning to get teary with revelation. Rainier continued walking away from the entrance, and Azia decided that she would follow the woman. There wasn't any reason not to trust the woman in front of her. Azia, being the naive woman that she was, continued following Rainier, and Rainier quickly moves the huge obstacle in the middle of the church to reveal a secret passageway toward a secret room underneath the church. Once getting to the bottom, Rainier simply walked forward into the open room with Azia. However, that was right when Azia felt something hit her on the back of the head with enough force to cause her immense pain for her. Turning around, Azia could tell that she was losing her consciousness, was able to see a man with a trench coat laughing at her. Thud. That's when she finally fell to the ground. Naive, way too naive, Rainier spoke, finally getting rid of the innocence that she was conjured for the past few minutes. I have been waiting for a long time, Azia. However, the time for the ritual has finally come. Tomorrow you shall finally be cleansed of your sins. Rainier slowly began smiling when seeing the unconscious body of Azia. The two humans have been fooled, and it was far too easy. Today, truly Rainier's best day of her entire life. There was no way that her higher-ups would ignore her after what benefit she will bring to her faction. Kala Warner decided to finally walk towards the blonde woman. This is why I hate humans with a passion. They are far too weak, naive, and pathetic. Calm down, Kala Warner. You can't deny that they have good use. And what's that, Rainier? Rainier continued walking away while turning back to Kala Warner for a quick response. They are just puppets for us supernatural beings. She continued smiling manically before walking away back up the stairs to give orders to the rogue exorcists that were working with them. While on their way up the stairs, Rainier continued about thinking about what she had to do to reach her near completion of her plan. Issei Hyodo, that naive boy, actually thought that I would find any interest in him. Such a foolish human. Seeing his facial expression of disbelief, knowing that he played into my trap, which is so satisfying. Now it's really making me on edge of what Ozzy's expression would be tomorrow. Chapter 4. Issei has been prevailing with his training with the boosted gear. Throughout the week, Issei has been able to improve upon his limit of boosting by a good amount, mostly thanks to his new draconic body. With his teacher, Ddraig, Issei was able to obtain knowledge of his sacred gear that no one would be able to provide. However, what helped him the most was the change in his mindset. Currently, Issei was seen on his knees while breathing heavily from exhaustion. Ddraig had forced him into maintaining the boosted gear with most boost that he could produce for the longest time that he could, which he held onto his maximum boost for a minute or two. But he was large in drastic change in power due to before. Ddraig, you think that's enough for today? For now, that will be enough. Remember what I said about your power. That I will need to be at my best, peak physical condition and mental condition to even attempt to control a small portion of my power. Yes, I understand. Issei spoke disappointingly, knowing that he would have to wait a significant amount of time before he would be able to use his draconic aura. Standing up, Issei could be seen with the significant changes to his body from a week ago, when he first being introduced to the supernatural world by Ddraig. From just a week ago, Issei was a scrawny, weak-looking individual, but in a week of training, being transformed into a dragon, Issei looked slightly more in shape than before. He looked even more fit and athletic than before. Not enough to where it would draw attention to the difference, but enough to show Issei that progress was being made. Standing up once more, Issei walked straight home. It was already beginning to be noon, and Issei finally needed his second part of training. Entering the house, Issei was met with his mother in the kitchen, making the food while his father was seen sitting at the dining table with the newspaper in his hand. His mother was the first to notice him entering the house and formed a genuine smile upon seeing her son. Issei, dear, could you please wash your hands and get ready for dinner? Today is going to be a special day because I just made your favorite food. Wait, that only could mean one thing. Cheesecake was being made! Issei rushed straight towards the sink and quickly began washing his hands if there was no tomorrow. Immediately sitting down parallel to his father's position at the dining table, Issei was ready to destroy this cheesecake. Seems as if someone's a little too excited for some cheesecake. His father jokingly responded to Issei's quick succession. His wife came back with cake in her hand while slapping her husband on the head tightly. Knock it off, dear. It had been a while since we'd made his favorite food. Let him enjoy the moment. Issei smugly looked at his father. His father responded with his tongue sticking out at Issei. Both Issei and his father were always childish, and they sure as hell loved every bit about it. Issei, what will you do about your schoolwork? His mother worriedly asked. Don't push all of it to the very last day. We all know that you won't be able to do all of it in one day. Issei, after shoving the entire large piece of cake straight into his mouth, quickly tried to finish up the piece, but don't worry before responding to his mother. Don't worry, I'll get it done sooner or later, Issei hesitantly said, which didn't help the situation since the single moment of hesitation had given the Hyodo parents the signal that he was indeed going to procrastinate. He's just like you. A lazy child, Guru. Hey, I'll have you know that I was one of the hardest working students in the high school. Miki quickly smirked before looking dead into Guru's eyes, knowing that he messed up. Yeah, sleeping during classes and declining nearly all invitations that were sent your way was indeed the hardest working student in our high school. Hey, Guru began blushing red from embarrassment, causing the two Hyodos to laugh in misery. After the entire mess, during the night, Issei was speaking with Ddraig about what they were going to do after today. After tomorrow, we will begin working on your entire body physically. Focus on what will allow for your body to maintain, further increase your power with the boost, Ddraig said. While Issei agreed with the statement, he could feel the dramatic increase from where he was originally when facing her for the first time. However, Ddraig quickly became reminding Issei of something of utmost importance. Remember, partner, the boosted gear has the ability of increasing your power by 2 folds with every boost. This is an exponential increase. Having a higher base power would lead into far more benefit with the boost and more potential. Just doing simple math, you already know what this means. With his hand touching his chin, while having an amused expression, Issei nodded in agreement. Yeah, if I increase my power, then that would result into a massive difference in power when boosting. Ddraig had many things planned for Issei since he didn't want to have a weak host, and Issei just wanted, what did he want? After seeing those memories, there was no way that Issei was wanting to have a harem after being destroyed by a single woman for deceiving and manipulating his emotions like the fallen angel did. But Issei was also slightly terrified of women thanks to that event. His perversion was slightly decreasing the trauma, but now Issei was left stuck without a dream to achieve. Now that is where Ddraig would ask his partner for the truth. Partner, before you call it a night, would you please tell me the goal or the dream you want to achieve now? The sudden moment of being asked the question had left Issei in a deep thought. Thinking to himself, Issei knew that being trapped in this new world was going to come with major consequences. Similar to how the regular world would treat people, Issei continued thinking until a single phrase came out of his mouth. I just want a normal life, a normal one with my family. That is what I want the most. What about the dream of being harem king? I don't know. I just want to stay away from the romance stuff for a while. Don't dragons live for a very long time? Ddraig huffed, which basically signaled to yes, and I have plenty of time of dealing with that stuff much later. You do know that the supernatural world won't remain docile. They will eventually come straight at you. You are the Red Dragon Emperor and the dragon with the aura awakened. The chance of having a normal life is basically non-existent. Issei only wanted a normal life at this point. The supernatural world, even if they didn't experience a single bit of true terrors of this new world, was already giving him the feeling that it would be a horrid and terrible experience for him. What will I have to do to get even more remotely close to the chances of having a normal life and quiet one? I want to know if it might be possible, but there is always a chance. Partner. What you must do is become the most powerful and fearful dragon in history. What you must do is become the most powerful dragon emperor, one that would be feared by all and will strike fear even into the divine beings. You must reach the level of being widely known for being the top 10 strongest beings in the supernatural world. This is a dangerous and potentially suicidal path. Are you sure you want to take this path? Partner, I don't even have a choice, do I? These beings won't stop trying to kill me no matter what I do. Growing is the only chance I have in any living in this terrible world. So how about it, partner? What if we both work together? Work like actual partners in crime. You help me try to achieve my dreams, and I'll try to help you achieve your dreams of being known as the most fearful dragon. What do you say to that? Issei jokefully asked his partner. This is a major step in their relationship as partners. Issei Hyodo, you and I have a deal. Now don't disappoint, because you've already been disappointing death. Another would just leave a bad taste in both our mouths. Ddraig jokingly responded while chuckling in the boosted gear. His partner was amusing, trying to set deals with him that weren't dealing with the exchange of body parts. Issei finally closed his eyes, and the week had finally begun for his torturous training. Chapter 5. Damn. That truly have taken all my energy to finish. Issei slowly moved his hand over towards the ground and tried to push off of it. However, he was too exhausted. He collapsed onto the ground near his house. Let's call it a day, partner. He was exhausted beyond belief. Ddraig had forced him even when he wanted to quit the training, but to put all into his training, the training workouts. Ddraig quickly, seeing his partner's goodness, and decided to finally call out the training session. You've done well, partner. Tomorrow is the last day of your short trip. I'm guessing you might want to spend your family, especially when you've barely seen them for the past week. Yeah, that would be nice. Take the day off, partner. You've earned it. Thanks, partner. And he was out like a light bulb. The next morning, Issei had woken up outside with some bugs on him. Quickly screaming and shaking off the bugs, Issei ran inside to clean himself with a relaxing bath. It was early in the morning and his parents hadn't woken up yet, leaving him in charge with the food. Taking some time, Issei decided to make the simplest breakfast that he could make. With a box of cereal, Issei began to filling a large bowl with cereal. There was only Lucky Charms, but that was good enough for the boy. Now you humans are beginning to make cereal with faces and random symbols on them? This is outrageous. What happened to the hunting? What happened to the cooking? Ddraig was having an internal crisis with the fact that his partner would dare to use the cereal in the box in front of him staring at the meal all day. Calm down. It isn't that bad. It actually tastes really good and even fills me up at times. At least you don't put your milk in before the cereal. If you did, you would have lost a partner. What? Do you take me for a monster? I would never do something as scary as that. Sure. Sighing from his partner's antics, Issei continued eating his cereal while glancing outside to see beautiful weather. Later on, his partner's finally being able to woke up, beginning to coming downstairs. Once seeing Issei sitting on the couch, watching his favorite anime, Drag So Ball. Wow. Okay, I'm sorry. That just threw me off. Drag So Ball. They smiled upon knowing their favorite son wasn't gone for the entire day, especially when today was going to be their last day at this rented home. His mother was the first person to break the silence in the living room. Issei, dear, what have you been doing for the past couple of weeks? Turning his face to his mother, Issei slowly got up and responded, nothing much. Just been doing a little exploring around the area and exercising to stay in shape. Finally, when seeing their son fully, they were slightly shocked when seeing the small developments in his body was going through. Seeing his improvements, Issei's parents were more than glad to know that their son was actually trying to build himself and to better his condition with working out. Great! Now you're trying to get all the girls at your school to fall in love with your body, aren't you? His father jokingly said before walking towards the dining table to wait for his breakfast. However, he was instead met with a powerful slap on the back of his head by his wife. When looking at her, he gulped for fear when he strictly glared straight into his eyes. Want to say that again? She threatened, leaving the poor husband with a slight head pain for a little while. Issei chuckled upon seeing his parents' little interaction. After spending a little bit of time with his parents, they all decided to finally begin packing their belongings. Once again, finally ready for departure, Issei and his family continued on their way to Ko. Issei slightly nervous about the situation that is happening in Ko, with the devils supervising their territory and the fallen angels still lurking around. Once entering the territory, Issei began sensing the energy of signatures of the devils. With becoming a dragon, having a little bit of training in dragon aspects, he was able to sense a little bit of the supernatural energy signals. Making their way to the house, Issei decided to use the entire day as the means of resting and thinking about what is being done first. Firstly, my suggestion would be to ignore the devils completely. Wait, from what I have heard from you, devils and fallen angels still see each other as enemies. If I eliminate the fallen angels, wouldn't that make the devils less hostile with me since I had down their enemies? Ddraig sighed in disappointment in this part of logic. You've completely forgotten that you're not a devil yourself. Just because you've defeated their enemies doesn't mean they're going to be allies immediately. Must I remind you, you're a fully fledged evil dragon? Dragons are beings of power and pride. In the supernatural world, we are feared by all factions, meaning Issei finally began understanding his situation even more clearly. We dragons are enemies to all factions. That just makes approaching this far harder. Issei sighed in disappointment at himself in the fact that no matter where he went, he was going to be an enemy to nearly everyone. Firstly, it was being an enemy to a woman, no matter what they looked like. Secondly, he was an enemy to the fallen angels, which led to him finally being the enemy of the devils. What's next? He was going to be an enemy of the angels? Calm down. At least you aren't the enemy to all dragons, just one of them. That surely does help, Ddraig, Issei said, sarcastically responded. You're welcome, partner. I'm glad to be some help. Ddraig played along with Issei, slightly pissing him off. Issei sighed and finally called it a day. He wasn't going to receive much help from Ddraig, especially when they continued bickering with each other. Waking up next day, Issei quickly began remembering what he wanted to do today. The fallen angels he was going to investigate, where the hell would they be? Ddraig had suggested for him to travel towards the abandoned church since that would make the most sense for them to hide in, especially when they were barely any good at ideas for them to hide in. Also, Ddraig had stated that he was able to sense a smaller energy signatures that were human that direction while Issei was unconscious in the hospital. Getting ready and leaving from the house, Issei continued his way towards the abandoned church, Ddraig being a good partner that he was concealed all of Issei's energy. Issei Hyodo, I suggest watching out for any potential signs of the devils. I'll warn you when they are coming or are nearby. We still don't want to have conflict with the devils, especially when two of them are deemed as future prodigies of two elite families. Alright, you do that while I run towards the church. Running full speed towards the abandoned church, Issei was expecting far worse. The fallen angel that had killed him was surely with a small group of fallen angels. There was no way that she would be dumb enough to stay in devil territory, especially when the two devils are high class, without any backup or support. Being in the edge, Issei started to slow down the closer that he got to the church, using his senses of the utmost that he could. Once reaching the abandoned church, Issei slowly began creeping onto the entrance, wanting to attempt to sense whatever the energy signals in the building were. Issei didn't find any. Ddraig, do you sense anything in the building? No, this is quite strange. Even Ddraig was quite confused on why there was not a single trace of energy signature in the building. Usually, whenever there was a conflict between the two sides, fallen angels and devils, the conflict would last for a while. Try and cautiously enter the building. Issei did exactly that. He would activate the boosted gear, but something was telling him that activating it would gain the attention of the devils. He would wait up until doing so until he was in dire situations. Slowly walking into the building, Issei was met with just nothing. There was no one inside the building, not a single person was inside the building guarding whatsoever the fallen angels were doing. Thinking to himself, Issei decided that maybe this was the wrong situation until he noticed the obstacle in the middle of the room. The huge rectangular box was slightly moved over. There was a little sign of something beneath the box, and using his strength, Issei was able to move the box over to reveal some stairs leading to the secret area. Walking down the stairs, Issei was met with a stench of smell that disgusted him. With his draconic senses, the smell was awful. It was nearly impossible for him to continue forward because of the smell, but he knew that he must continue. Once reaching the bottom, Issei met with a dark room with a huge cross in front of him, usually used for sacrifices. However, what caused Issei to widen his eyes was the body in the middle of the cross. It was a skeleton of a human being. Walking forward, Issei could tell that this was the work of fallen angels. Ddraig was already putting the pieces together. Being an ancient dragon, his brain was far more capable of handling situations in front of him with relative ease. Finally, deciding to tell his partner of what happening, he knew that his partner was going to be angered by hearing the fallen angels has messed around and killed another life of a human again, especially when Issei was going to blame her for doing this. Partner, this must have been the place where I sensed the small energy signature, knowing that the supernatural doesn't go around harming normal humans and only chose to harm the ones that could become potential danger to them or recruit those human beings. The fallen angels must have sensed that this girl had special power of sacred gear in which they chose to kill her, or must have taken her power, sensing the small energy boost from where you were, in a coma. It was probably the latter of the witch. Are you telling me that the fallen angels has manipulated another human? No, they had murdered whoever this was with cold blood. The fallen angels were really angering Issei severely. First, they had manipulated his emotions. They had taken advantage of him and stabbed him directly in the back because he had a powerful and dangerous power within him. Now, they had, even with the devils in the territory were around, killed another innocent human with cold blood. It was beginning to anger him in just how cruel and disgusting these creatures truly were. Before Issei could attempt to find these fallen angels and hoping they would receive judgment, he wanted to ask his partner something. Ddraig, where do you think the fallen angels has gone after doing all of this? I'm guessing that after the little energy increase, they had known that the devils would arrive shortly after sensing the sudden burst. That had caused them to quickly evacuate before they would be caught. Basically, the fallen angels cowardly ran away after killing a few humans. Issei slowly began feeling rage like never before. Would you die for me? Those words had never left him. They still haunt him in his nightmares. He was hopeless in the front of fallen angels. He wanted to make sure that she would pay dear for messing with his feelings. However, the moment that he comes back to his home, with a little bit of training in him, the fallen angels had killed another human and had the audacity to run away. Please go without me. She seemed like another innocent girl that wanted to make Issei's dream come true. He was the happiest man in the world to hear that from a cute girl was wanting to go out with him, especially when he was known for being the most disgusting man in the entire school. It was fun, the time I spent with you. It was like playing house with a little child. Those words told everything to Issei. He played like a fool during the entire date. Tears once again began escaping the man's eyes. That moment was never to be forgotten. Sorry, but your existence is a threat to us. No, he didn't. He hadn't even awakened his sacred gear before being killed. She wouldn't have at least recruited him? Why kill him? Slowly, Issei's emotion began going out of control. Taking control of Issei's power, Issei instantly lost the concealment that Ddraig had placed upon him to prevent the devils from sensing his power. Instantly, his draconic aura began expanding outward. The blue sapphire-type aura began destroying and melting whatever was in its path, pushing his power with the boosted gear to its limits and Issei had never reached before. Blood began seeping down his mouth from the pain of expanding his aura. I should have known this was bound to happen. Ddraig tried snapping into his partner out of his chaotic state, however, it wasn't working. Issei was blinded by his sadness and anger. Both of these emotions were the cause of his draconic aura to form. Boost! And his power was already beginning to double. The ground and began shaking violently with his power. However, before anything else could get worse, someone had appeared. So, this is the Red Dragon Emperor, Azazel, and that is the end of Chapter 5. And guess what? That's where we're going to be stopped for now. Cliffhanger, get cliffhangered. Yeah, that's right. The cliffhangers are back, and you guys are going to have to face with it. I already read basically 3 chapters, and I would read 4, but my voice is tired. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for the support. Please don't leave yet, and make sure to hit the like button. And once again, if y'all know, we should hit 100 channel members. We're at 32. We need 60 more, which sounds like a lot, but it actually isn't. And if we do hit 100 channel members, we'll have a special little movie. You know what I'm saying? So, thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate everything that's been going on. Please hit the like button, do me a favor. 400 to 500 likes would be absolutely amazing. I know your boy Dish did come back from, like, basically a 2-month break, so it's going to be hard to pick up where I left off, like, social-wise, on, like, in view-wise on YouTube, but, you know, that's all part of the game. So, yeah. Once again, hitting 100,000 subscribers on Ampopowski and having an official YouTube Blade button made me feel like it's actually an official job now, because I run 2 channels, and I just bought an editing software. I bought the most recent Premiere Pro, and I plan on editing a lot more because it's so much quicker and so much smoother than the 2020 version. I had the 2020 version, and now I have the 2024 version, so I couldn't have done that without you guys. Basically, all the money I make is from here. So, thank you so much. Without any further intrusions, ladies and gentlemen, Spartanic Arts DXD out.